Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It's another very beautiful, beautiful afternoon, Sunday afternoon here from my end, wherever you are in the world. My name is Leo Nupolu Johnson. I am the president of the Liberian Association of Canada. I'm also the executive director of Empowerment Square and a Liberian just like yourself. We're back here today on the Liberian Dream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Promises to be another fascinating afternoon as we look at the topic, a nation in peril. Identity crisis in Liberia. You know, we often love to talk about all the challenges we face in Liberia. We like to talk about all the issues, but sometimes I'm worried that we don't get to the depth of the problem. We don't get to the root cause of the situation. We often seem to stop just at the symptoms. And I want to talk a little bit about the depth of the problem because some of the things that we're looking at are things that we have a solution to. We don't need any donor funds. We don't need to beg for the IMF to give us money for. We can tackle on our own. And one of the things I want to look at today is the issue of an identity crisis, a nation in peril, which is our country, Liberia. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the issue of language, right? Because when we talk about a nation, we take it from the very foundation of what does it mean to say this place is a nation, this place called Liberia, that we've all come from, that we've all have committed ourselves. So what does it mean when you walk somewhere and tell someone, I am a Liberian? What does that look like when you tell someone, I'm from Lofa County, I'm from Bon County, I'm from Grand Coup, I'm from River Cess, I'm from River G, I'm from Bapolu, I'm from Nimba, I'm from Cape Mount? What does that really mean? Can you really belong to a nation if you cannot find your identity in it? Can you really belong? Can you really feel a sense of belonging, a sense of patriotism if you cannot? I'm going to start my dialogue this afternoon by focusing on what happened in Liberia about 4 days ago. We witnessed His Excellency President George Manuel with the French Prime Minister, the French Foreign Affairs Minister, the French Foreign Minister, inaugurate what is called the Alliance Francaise Institute. So for those of you who may know, Alliance Francaise is an organization that is supported by the French government to promote French language and culture around the world. So you go in many countries around the world, you'll see Alliance Francaise, which is supported by the French government. Now, something struck me, and for 2 days, I was troubled by it. Some of you may have already heard me talk about it. And what struck me was that the French foreign minister came to Liberia for the inauguration of Alliance Francaise to promote French language and culture. And even in the midst of doing that, we were unable to demonstrate that we care anything about our own language and culture. The French Prime Minister, the French Foreign Minister did not even get the chance to experience one Liberian language. The French Foreign Minister did not even get the chance to see what our languages look like. What do we speak? Where is the place for our language in our country? None. The French Foreign Minister had to listen to us speak English and then those who could speak French, celebrated him, celebrated the fact that they were coming to Liberia to launch Alliance Francaise to promote French language and culture in a country where we as Liberians do not even have access to learning our own languages. Now, take a pause and think about that for a moment. Think about that for a moment. Liberians, our children being born today, do not have access. I'm not talking about the ones being born in the diaspora. I'm not talking about the ones being born in the United States or being born in Canada or being born in Australia or being born in Europe, anywhere else. No, I'm talking about our Liberian children going to school, born in Liberia, do not have access to learning our local languages. We have the ability to organize, to mobilize, to engage, to promote the French language and culture. But we do not have the ability to do the same for our own language and culture, or our own languages and cultures. Now, let me give you some simple fact why it is important. This is one of the primary reasons why our nation is in peril today, because we do not even know who we are. We are on a trend of chasing everything else but ourselves. We have refused to accept who we are, as if all of the other people we admire and chase do not have challenges also. Some of their problems are worse than ours. Think about Cote d'Ivoire, right? Went on a French colonial rule for so long. and had to adopt the French language. However, they have a strong foundation of their native languages than even Liberia, who, quote unquote, was never colonized. Think about Ghana, who went on a British colonial rule for so long. And these are nations that got their independence in the 50s, in the 60s. After colonial rule, even though they had to adopt the language of their oppressors and their colonizers, they still managed to maintain the strong foundation of their native languages. So let's take a step back. Why are we as Liberians, our nation is in peril today? Because we've come to a place where we cannot realize that we have been running away from ourselves. We have rejected from day one who we are. From 1847, this orchestration was made to pretend like Liberia or the place called Liberia today existed in a vacuum. No, it did not. Before anybody arrived on the shores of what is today Liberia, there was a rich cultural history of some of the richest languages you can think about. There was a rich cultural history of the people who were proud of themselves as descendants of kings and queens, of royalty. Let's go back to that. The history of the place called Liberia today did not start in the 1800s. It started hundreds of years before the 1800s. Let's dig it out, because the only way we would get to a place to start to reestablish a sense of sanity is when we understand our story, who we are, where we come from, and why we are the way we are. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's dig a little deeper when it comes to why language is so important to our social, economic, everything, to our spiritual, social, economic, and cultural well-being. Without a full understanding and embracing of our languages, I dare you me, 30 years from now, we will still be debating what does it mean to be a Liberian. Nobody can tell you still, because we are not confident enough to beat your chest and say, I'm from Lofa County. Very few people can say that, because you know nothing about Lofa. You wouldn't know that your parents or your grandparents came from there. Number one, our identity code as a people is locked in our native languages. I tell you today, you will never fully get to understand and embrace who you are without a true understanding of your native language. And let me shock you, you may not like to hear it. English is not your native language. As long as English has existed around in Liberia, majority of us still do not speak English, read, write, nor understand it. Worst of all, even those of us who've come to the diaspora and have lived here for so long, 25, 30, 40 years, still cannot efficiently function within the English language. Ask yourself, why is it so? Now, some people may argue that we've developed a form of English, so people like to call Liberian English. I call it colloquial, because no English man or woman can understand that. However, even that too, we run away from it. Watch your fellow Liberians. The moment they get somewhere among other Liberians, that's when they're about to show their prowess in speaking series. That's when they're about to show how efficient they are, how many big words in the English dictionary they know. They pretend like they don't know how to speak nor understand Liberian English. Now, I understand when you're among the white people and the English people trying to speak series and all that stuff. I get it. What I don't get is when you come among your own Liberian brothers and sisters, the one thing that most of us share in common because of our history, which is the Liberian colloquial, you run away from it and you don't even want to be identified with it. So who are we? Have you noticed the consistent trend of us running away from ourselves? Even with the Liberian colloquial, that on average, majority of Liberians speak and understand. We reject it. We reject it. Even amongst ourselves. When you hear our Liberian, when you bump into a Liberian brother on the streets of London or a Liberian sister on the streets of London and you try to say hi, when they open up the series alone they can open up with to you, you're wondering, aren't you supposed to be Liberian? Aren't we supposed to do something here that is of commonality to ourselves? Let's take it one step. Your identity core is locked in your native language, and I promise you, we will continue to live this state of instability until we get to a place of unlocking our identity code, and we can only do that through our languages. Let me take it one step further to tell you why your identity code is locked in your native language. Because the language that you're trying to speak and function in is not yours, it's borrowed. And I care less how efficiently and fluently you speak in it. You will always be identified as not a native speaker of that language. Now, many people like to go on like, oh, what do you mean? We shouldn't learn English. We shouldn't. No, I'm not telling you not to. Learn English. It is an asset to anybody. Learn French. So when I talk about the story about the French foreign minister going to Liberia, I'm not saying don't learn French. Please learn French. It's an asset to you to speak French. Learn English. It's an asset to you to learn English. But learn your own language too. The same tenacity, the same willingness, the same attitude you bring to learning French and English and all the other languages, bring that same tenacity, that same attitude to learning your local languages. That's all I'm asking. I'm not telling you don't learn. In fact, the more foreign languages you can learn, the better for you. But of what good is it to yourself that you can boast of learning all the other languages? You can boast of pretending to be everybody else, but you are not even able to know who you are. You cannot even learn your own. Let's break it down one step. Your history and culture are rooted in your native language or in your native languages. You cannot learn your history and culture without the language. It is impossible. You wonder why Liberians are running around the world today having zero understanding of you ask Liberians about 1990, they can't even explain to you what happened in 1990. We cannot understand our history. We cannot understand our culture because we do not know our languages. Our cultures, our histories are deeply locked and embedded in our languages. There is a way a certain story can be told in Crew. There is not an equivalent in English. There is a way a certain message can be conveyed in Bassa. There is zero equivalent in English or any other language. There is a way a certain thing can be described in Pele. There is not an equivalent in English. You can get closer. So this is the cause of our nation being in peril. We are in an identity crisis simply because we have rejected who we are as a people. We've run away from who we are. Now, for those of you who want to contribute as we're speaking, please put it in your comments. We will open the phone lines at the end of the show to taking some calls and hear from people who disagree, but also who want to provide their contributions. Let's take it one step. Our failure to embrace our native languages, which should lead us to understanding our history and our culture, is a tacit plan to destroy our culture. So we've been on this tirade of an absolute destruction of Liberian culture, but every time we run away from our own languages. Now, I will come with my solutions and recommendations at the end of the show, but let's focus on where the problem is situated first. For as long as we've kept running away from who we are, we have intentionally continued to destroy our culture and our history. We've continuously decided, or we've created a plan to disconnect and cut ourselves out from whoever we are. That's what we've done by running away from ourselves. Our Liberian brothers and sisters are pleased to speak Tree, and the boast of it to speak Bambara, Mandarin, Cantonese, Russian, Norwegian, you name it, German. They speak it all. But you ask them, why you don't, where are you from? Like, I'm from Grand Bassa. What tribe are you? Grand Bassa. What tribe are you? Bassa. Oh, can you speak Bassa? My people never taught me. My parents, when we were growing up, they never taught us Bassa. That the reason why we're suffering today, we can't speak Bassa. If you could muster the courage and tenacity to speak German, then please tell me, how is it rocket science to muster that same ability and courage to speak Bassa? So today, our main mode of communication in our country, all of us try to operate in a white man's language, English, that less than 20% of our population can properly understand, read, write, nor even speak. So we have a problem. You go to Liberia today, you write something down on paper, you distribute it to everybody, you ask people to tell you what they said, they tell you the opposite of what you wrote. You remember the just ended referendum? You remember? We embark on a national process. right? And then we say we should provide education, and then we double down on education in English. And then our people go and do the direct opposite of what you ask them or try to explain to them because they don't understand the lingua franca. It has no context. It has no application in their daily reality. Right? So let's take it one step. The TRC process. The biggest argument today on the ground, everybody debating Liberians should be the one to determine what happens to the recommendations of the TRC. Liberians should be the ones to determine what happens, whether a war crime code should be brought to Liberia or not, right? Agreed. How are you going to hold Liberians accountable for determining the fate of a process that was conducted entirely in English? How are you going to hold Liberians responsible for a bunch of recommendations that are sitting in written English? There is no audio for them to even understand what it means. How will you hold Liberians accountable for a process that they do not have even access to the recommendations? How are Liberians going to make an informed decision about what should happen? Guess what? Let me give you breaking news. I believe war crimes code is inevitable for Liberia, but guess who will decide it? The white people will decide our fate because we do not even understand the recommendations of the TRC. So they will have to take it and figure out what should be done with it. And whatever they shove down our throats will be what we shall take. Let's take it one step further. Do you realize why in Liberia, when you go to school in Liberia and graduate from high school in Liberia and university, do you realize why you learn Western culture and Western history more than even the history of Monrovia? Do you realize that? It's because the language comes embedded with the culture, with the history. So if your main mode of operation and education is in the English language, you will learn more about the English culture, the Western culture, the Western history, more than your own. Because the language is contextual to the culture and history. Let me take it one step. Based on research by the Intellectual Development Research Association, right? Your child native language or your child first language is a major determinant of their identity. So if your child only language or first language is going to be English, guess what will happen? They will grow up developing their identity within that language. Then you want them to say they are Pele people. No, they are not Pele people. The language code, the identity code that they have is embedded in English. You wanted to say they are Bassa? No, they're not Bassa. Ask yourself why your children got zero interest in what we do as adults. It's simply because what the identity code that we're giving them is very different from what we're forcing them to become as adults or as they grow up. It doesn't make sense to them at all. There is no context for it. Let's take it one step further. The lack of your native language destroys important links to your family tree, to your values, to your history, and to your identity. In essence, your identity gets lost along the way. You break your family tree, the links to what your family really is. Because if your great-great-great-grandfather came from Grand Cru or Grand Bassa or Nima or Lofa or Bon, any one of them, the further away you move from understanding the context of your identity code, which is embedded in the native language, the further away you are removed from your family tree because you cannot connect to it. You wonder why you show up in your own village, you look like a stranger. Some of you show up even in Monrovia, you look like a stranger in Monrovia. Let's move further down. People, according to the Intellectual Development Research Association, people who learn English and continue to develop their native languages have a higher academic achievement in later years than people who learn English at the expense of their native language. That the way people say they want, that their research is their research. So because Liberia is a nation in peril, experiencing an identity crisis, simply because we have made a conscious decision to learn English at the expense of our native languages. Those of you who want to call, don't worry, we'll be opening the phone line soon so you can call in. Now, the big argument I get from people, or the biggest argument I get from people is, oh, what economic benefit does it bring? First of all, before I say anything, who needs to give you an economic benefit from unlocking your own identity code? Why do you need an economic benefit from knowing who you are? Why do you need an economic benefit to determine the future of what happens with where you call your own? Why do you need an economic benefit for that? Why do you need an incentive for that? But let me tell you the economic benefit. All of our, most, if not all of our languages are regional. They are not only spoken in Liberia, they are spoken in Guinea, in Sierra Leone, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Malay, in Senegal. Maybe you don't know. This is the limitation we are having. All the languages we speak are regional. From Mandingo to Peril to Loma to Gio to Mano to Bassa to Grebo. They are regional. They are spoken as far as Burkina Faso. They are spoken as far as Mali. They are spoken as far as Senegal. But because most of us don't even speak nor understand it, so even if you went to Cote d'Ivoire and you were in a place where the people are speaking Guerrier, which is Crown, you don't even know that is a language from Liberia because you don't even speak Crown, by the way, but you say you Crown person. Let's get down to it. Basically, there are 3 linguistic groups in Liberia: the Mande, the Kwa, and the Mel-speaking people. Right? So this is the problem we are having. Now, let me get to my recommendations and then we can open the phone line. Recommendation number 1, our local languages should be embedded in our school curriculum. It should not be a debate. It should be a no-brainer. If school is the major place by which we educate our children, then our local languages should be embedded within our education system or education curriculum. Now, before you be too fast to ask me which one do we pick, we should not pick any. We should teach all. Why are you picking some over the other? Why do you need to pick some over the other? No. Educate us in all of them. And I know some of you are already scratching your head going like, oh, you're going to teach 16 tribes in a curriculum? Yes, you're going to. Let me tell you how. In my opinion, which is practical, it will cost little to zero, like zero to very little amount of money. We already have the resources. We need to begin implementing it on a smaller scale. Let me tell you how. Number 1, Grand Bassa County, right? The Bassa people are from Grand Bassa County. Thank God our county has already been segmented into geopolitical divisions, right? Grand Bassa. What is wrong with the Ministry of Education saying all schools in Grand Bassa County will be mandated to teach Bassa from kindergarten to 6th grade, elementary school? Now, some of you will be asking me, who will write the curriculum? We don't need to write a curriculum. We agree. There may not be many people who can properly write, read, and script our languages. So guess what? We do not need to write it. Let's start teaching an oral curriculum. The same way we teach English orally in an oral curriculum in the kindergarten. And you remember, in kindergarten, a lot of the curriculum is oral. We teach the children can sing ABC songs. They don't even know how to, they can identify A. The children can sing the whole ABC song to Z, they can identify A. They can say the SOSO, they can identify what SOSO looks like. So if we can do that with English, how come we are arguing to do it with our own native languages? Go to Bon County, the Pele. All elementary schools in Bon County, the Pele language should be a mandatory subject from kindergarten straight to grade 6. Any child who learns their language or native language from kindergarten to grade 6, it's almost impossible for them to ever forget it. While we debate and argue that we need to develop our languages to a place where they are written and read, let's start using what we've already got, man, people. God has already given us what we've got. Let's start with what we got. Before you start running around the place to start asking people for money to develop a curriculum, let's teach it orally. What is even better is the fact that the teachers within the school system in these counties can already speak the native languages. So in some cases, you may not even need to hire new teachers. That, in my opinion, is not difficult. It's not rocket science. Go to Nimba, the Gio, the Mano, the Mandingo. All 3 of those languages should be inserted in all elementary school curriculum in Nimba. However, every child should be mandated to learn one. If they want to learn all 3, hallelujah to them. But their requirement should be to learn one. So if you come from a Mandingo family, you will get the opportunity to learn Mandingo from kindergarten to grade 6. If you came from a Gio family, you'll get the opportunity to learn Gio from kindergarten to grade 6. If you came from a Mano family, you will get the opportunity to learn Mano from kindergarten to grade 6. So let's be frank about it. Go to Lofa that has about 5. The Mandingo, the Loma, the Kisi, the Bandi, the Pele, right? Put all 5 in the school curriculum. But you are only required a mandated to learn one. There are some smart kids that will decide to learn all 5. We managed to put English in our kindergarten curriculum verbally and orally anyway. Why we can't just use the same thing with all of our local languages? We managed to develop a curriculum for French and pull it in our school system. If we can bring the people foreign language, develop a curriculum mandated in our school, please tell me what's your argument for not developing a curriculum for Pele? Please help me understand what's your argument for not developing a curriculum for Gil, for Ku, for Kran, for Basa. I give you a simple solution. Do it orally. The same way the ABC teacher can stay in the class and sing before the children all day in ABC. For those of you who want to remain learning English in Monrovia, that's great. Those who are born in Monrovia who say they can speak their language, that's great. But guess what? We've seen now that Liberians have gone around the world and learned how to speak other people's languages. Make an effort. And if we, those of us who are adults already can speak it, then what about our children now? Let's start investing in our children so they don't suffer the same fate that we suffered. Man, I've been sitting here in white people country when I see my Pele people, I can look at them. I say, I'm not going to manju. Manga mweba nga mweku wa juwe akpenife kukele pa ku ngaka. Kutana kuga na kuba ku hiwo ngaka. Kutana kuga na kwa monua ndia kwe dia kuga akpelenu. Kia kuba kpere ngaka. So nga menge nga mweku wa ju kpenife nga mweku ka kele pa ka ngaka. Kia menga mwe nga dia kuku hiwo kwa ku ngaka ku hiwo ka ku wa loba ku wa nyaba ga ide ku po. Kwa na ku nyanga ndia. Kwiwa lale yo kwiwa bo nale ke iwe ya iwe bo ihiwo ye mo ya ganka nale nyawo la ide ku po ku wala ba ku wa nyakate. So let's be frank. The benefit of learning your language is you will know who you will not be a wanderer. When you know your native language, you will not be a wanderer. You will move from a place of instability. Our nation will stop being in peril. We will start to develop a stronger identity of who we are. But the long-term benefit is the fact that our languages will not go extinct. If we continue at the rate at which we are going in 50 years, some of our languages will go extinct. Who needs to give you a benefit to know who you are? Let me ask you. Somebody need to tell you what's the benefit of you knowing who you are? Let me ask you, what a benefit of knowing your own name? Is there any benefit to knowing your own name? When you go out there, people say, what your name? You know your name, you call it. Is there a benefit? Okay, if there is a benefit, then how come there isn't a benefit of learning your own native language that has the code for your identity? It has the code for the history of not just your country, but your family. So that is my solution, a very practical one. If we can put French in our school system, all of y'all who say what's the benefit? Let me ask you, the French they can teach in a high school in Liberia, how many of y'all can speak French after high school? We memorize and pass. That's all we do. We just memorize and score a grade. So what's the value of French in our school curriculum anyway? Zero, in my opinion. I haven't met any Liberian who learned to speak French fluently based on what they were taught in high school. So I'm saying to you, put our local languages from kindergarten to grade 6. But let's take some of our comments there. Let's read some of your comments and your reactions, and then we will open the phone lines as well. Mama Tutu say, oh my God, this boy can really sing. Or yeah, I think she's talking about the opening video there. Great song by our own, one of our own local artists there. Dada Luogon said, thank you once again. The issue of identity crisis is close to my heart. Thank you, Dada Luogon. Tanu Gibson say, I actually speak Guinea Pele, Leo, if you want to speak it sometimes. I wish I could speak Liberian Pele as a Liberian. We should hold on to our dialects and learn to speak fluent and proper English as Liberian. I agree, Tanu. Guinea Pele and Liberian Pele, very similar. I don't speak Guinea Pele, but I understand it very well. And Guinea Pele people understand me as well. Budu Dwe say, we want to call. Yeah, the line is about to be open, Budu, so you can call in. T. Flobo Gibson say, come, let's speak Guinea Pele. Okay, I hear you. Seven Field say, you are on point, brother. Liberians do not have value in their own culture and country. We are lost people. Thank you. Thank you, Seven Fields. Nelson Gatter said, all primary school education must be done in local language. I agree. We should do English too. There's nothing wrong with learning English. Abraham Political Modric Setu, I am watching you live from the office of the Veterans Bureau on the most talk about Bekube Avenue in Do Community. Good to see you, Abraham Political Modric Setu. Valley Lowentha. If you are going to school in Grand Cape Mount, you should be able to rewrite and speak VA. I don't know if you're a male or female there. I agree with you. But at least before we get to the rating part, because people don't even know, the VA people invented their own alphabets. The VA language in Liberia was one of the language group, oldest language group to invent its own alphabet. But we don't value these things. Maki Ward say, sorry, brother, we were born in Monrovia and we cannot speak our own languages or our children. I feel hurt when I speak one. I'm proud of my wife who speaks her. Laugh. Thank you, Maki. Much appreciated. Nelson Gatel say, in Liberian villages, the students are prohibited from speaking local language on campus. See that wahala. And let me pass your comment, my brother Nelson, before I get angry, because just the thought of it gets somebody angry. Ghibli Ones says, God bless you. You are really true Liberian, brother. Not like other who eats and look like American people. Oh, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't use that kind of invectives. Let's not refer to our brothers and sisters in those kind of languages, okay? Darlene Lischchen say, what's the benefit? Darlene, what a benefit are you knowing your own name? Let me put a question back to you. What's the benefit of you knowing the name of your pa, the name of your ma? What's the benefit of all of that? Marsha Polygon, Sumo Collie say, I was furious one time in Minnesota when some group of guys called my friend and I uncivilized because we were speaking Pele on the soccer field. That is the symptom of what I'm talking about. Thank God most of you are putting the evidences out here for us to see. Thank you. Jimmy Eastman say, I agree that one's identity is significant because it involves orientation. But how will learning languages resolve the corruption issue, the lack of profound education, the deplorable health conditions, and a general lack of jobs and industry in the country? Let me address this one a little bit, Jimmy. Jimmy, do you know that the health conditions outside of Monrovia is much better than Monrovia? Do you know that sanitation outside of Monrovia in the villages is much better? In Monrovia, that a place where the civilized people who say they got profound education, the people in plastic, they tie in the plastic and throw it over the house. In Monrovia, nobody does that in a village. In the villages, when you go, we don't get garbage cleaning services, but the villages are clean. The air you breathe, our people know the importance of shifting cultivation, where when they farm on one land today, they move to another place to allow the soil replenish. Monrovia, where we live, right? That a place where we live in houses that got no bathroom. Absolutely. So there's so much education in our local languages. Your history is profound education. If you can start to learn the languages and understand your history, there is no better education than emancipating yourself. So the issue of corruption issue, you know where it's coming from? Because we have no values. We've lost our cultural values. We've lost our languages. And when we go back and start to learn our native language, why you think that people not get Anroba Bene in the interior in the villages? All your Anroba Bene are in Monrovia. Why you think that people not get rampant killing? That is the reason, my brother. I can expand on that, but that's just a gist of the matter. Vamadi Donzo say it would be better to introduce one dialect which everyone will learn in school rather than teaching different dialects. Why we should prioritize one dialect to the extinction of all the others? No, let's learn all. Those who are Mandingo should have the privilege for their children to learn Mandingo. Pele people, we want to sustain all of these languages because they have the core to our history. Every time we lose one, we'll be losing a big chunk of our history and culture. We shouldn't stand to lose any. Let's learn all of them. When we learn all of them, then we can make the argument about whether maybe we might make one more popular than the other. But we should not take one at the detriment of the others. That is just shooting ourselves in the foot in the long run. Joe Colley said, we are struggling to learn Hindi in India here. So it is very essential to learn our own native languages, bro. Think about that. The Indians are saying you must learn Hindi to function in your country. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Do the same for yours. Entrepreneur Russell Pio, good to see you, my brother Russell Pio. He says, it hurts me to not speak my native language deep in my heart. I empathize with you, bro. Let's go. So the numbers are on there. Those of you who want to call, please pick up your phone and call 605-313-6004. And the code to enter will be 791-403#. So that's the number if you want to call in. We will see when calls start to come in. But let's continue the trend. I am not saying do not learn English. I am not saying we should stop speaking English in Liberia. I am not saying do not learn French. All I'm asking is, can we learn ours too? Let's learn ours as well. We keep going around the world telling people, Liberians, your first language is English. No, our first language is not English. We do not speak English. We don't speak proper English. Even the people who've gone to school struggle. Even in the diaspora, we struggle. If you think language has no benefit, how come all the other countries we go to, they force us to learn their languages? You're who asking? Since they got no benefit, why when you went to Ghana, Liberians became fluent in Tree? Most Liberians. If they were not Tree, they became fluent in the local Ghanaian pidgin or the local Ghanaian colloquial. If language are not important, why those of us who went to Cote d'Ivoire were forced to learn Yakuba French? The broken French. We were forced to. Your ability to avoid being arrested by the Ivorian police on market day in places like Danane was your ability to be fluent in the Yakuba French. Or if you could speak Gio, then God bless you, you can speak Yakuba. If you could speak Kran, God bless you, you could speak Guerrier. If you could speak Grebo, you could speak Bete. So, what is this question about that? You want to know the benefit? That is the benefit. Charles Poole says, great discussion and wonderful concept. Nationalism is part of the world and stick to the traditional values. I agree. So let me ask, why something so easy to do that would benefit our country, we think we shouldn't do it? I'm just trying to understand.
Leo, we have a caller. Man, Jimmy Eastman is on the line.
Oh, Mr. Jimmy Eastman. Yeah, let's take Jimmy Eastman here as our first caller this afternoon.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, Jimmy. Thank you for calling in. Let's hear you. You are live.
Okay, so I am with you that one should not lose the value of their own native language. There's so much culture and education buried in it. But let's not lose sight of the main advantage of having one common language in the country. You see, having one common language will ease communications. If you look at the history of Africa, we were all in different pockets of tribes, in different sections. We didn't communicate, we didn't cooperate, and it was easy for us to be conquered because we suspected each other. But with communication, with understanding each other through language, you have less suspicion. We have more cooperation. The same problem exists between the Anglophone and the Francophone. Like you were saying in Ivory Coast, we had to learn the French. Once you learn the French, then you will be accepted in their society. You won't be suspect. But as soon as you're speaking English, they regard you as foreign or different. Oh, c'est un anglophone. Means you're different, but you're the same tribe, the same color, the same people, but you're treated differently. So there is an inherent advantage of a common spoken language because it breaks down the barriers of communications. And that is something we should not lose sight of, even though it's just as important to know one dialect.
Yeah, so Jimmy, let me respond to that quickly. First of all, I agree with you, the issue of a common language. But how can we get to a common language when we've rejected all of our own languages in the first place? There is no way we can have a common language when we do not develop our languages to the place that one of them could become a common language. So what I am suggesting is let's start with the foundation of developing them now so that maybe in 10, 20 years, we will be at a place of saying now we can elevate one to be a common language. But it's impossible to do that when none of our languages are embraced by us. All of them, we've rejected them. They are nowhere that you can access them. So I don't disagree with you, but I don't want to get to that stage when the foundation is not even in place.
Yeah, thank you. And also, one more point you brought up, and urban living and rural living is different. A lot of the issues you cited about people tossing their feces no matter where, a lot of those are urban related issues. If the rural areas became equally as populated, those same ugly practices seen in urban areas will affect the rural areas. So some of those things you mentioned are effects of overcrowded urban life that the facilities have never been developed so that they wouldn't be doing those things. They are urban related issues and they have nothing to do with language.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. But I would say it is the marginalization of our people in the rural areas that is seeing the onslaught of them coming over. You're right. Urban issues, city planning, and all that stuff, facilities, infrastructure. I do not disagree with you on that. But to some extent, I think our people up interior manage their garbage properly than our people. So I agree. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. There are other factors that are resulting into an urban area being that way. But thank you so much, Jimmy. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have another caller.
Yes, Achi is on the line. Achi, go ahead.
Yeah, Leo, how you doing?
I'm doing very much, sir. You're alive. Let's hear you here.
All right. Thank you so much. I quite frankly, let me admit, or confess that most of the time I come into your podcast on Facebook and I just pass. But every time I make a stop, I get glued and I get interested.
Thank
But
you.
for this particular topic, you have made my day. Whether we are a lost group of people, we are a lost group of people rejecting everything about ourselves. I'll give you an example. Like just part of last year, I went in a gathering in a park and I met some friends. Among them was one person who and I grew up together. I'm a Kerman from Nima County, right?
Yep.
This guy must have the same dialect, as you call it.
Yep.
And the four guys he were with, they are Kern too, but they never knew I'm a Kern person.
Okay.
But there's certain things that say age to me, I tell you sorted. But later on, I came to understand and realize that it is us. It is us Liberians. That's how we behave. So when
Yep.
I met this guy, I went to him and shook his hand. And I spoke to him in my granddaughter. I went like, so I went with, oh, and that girl, they were like, about that down, I said to him, man, how you doing? It's been
Yep.
long. We have not met. Then we're getting old around here now, bro. So the other guys look at me and they asked the guy, said, they got a comment. The guy said, yeah, but you heard him speaking crown.
Exactly.
Huh? But I'm making real crown guru. So I stopped, I said, hey, what did you say? I said, my man, you can really speak crown guru, man. I said, what child? He said, I comment. I said, so you don't speak crown? He said, no, man, I really don't speak crown guru like the way you can speak crown. I said, next time, don't tell me that. I
Yep.
am too old for you to say to me that I know how to speak crown good. It's an insult to me. I
Yep.
will not be bluffing. I will not be, walking like I'm proud because you say I can speak Krangu. That's my local language.
That's
I'm
your.
supposed to speak it the
It's
way I'm
supposed to
speaking.
be your responsibility. Thank you so much, Achi. Thank you for
Guys,
your. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Achi. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your testimony. We have another call there. Anthony.
Yes, we do. And that color is Wifra Pratt.
Wilfred, go ahead, sir. You are live.
Russell, rather. Now we call
Russell, sorry,
Russell.
yeah, Russell, go ahead. You are live.
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing today, brother?
Very, very well. Thank you for calling in.
Uh, yeah. Thank you so much for the conversation. You see, where I came from, mine was is France, and one of the things I always say to her mother, her grandmother, I say, speak Crown to my children, because I'm lost.
Yeah.
I don't know how to speak any language, any native language from where I came from, Liberia. And I hope that you can teach my kids. I wanted to have a language. Oh, yes, the thing. I lived in Senegal for a few years, and they have the native language, which is Wolof.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, brother, if you cannot speak Wolof, you can make your way in Senegal. Ask anybody who lives in Senegal.
Yeah.
If you can't speak Wolof, and let me just ask you one of the things that when you were saying that we need to learn all the language, I think we need to start from step by step. When you trying to educate your children in your child from kindergarten to prepare the child, you teach the ABC. So I
Yeah.
think you need to take one language and learn that, and let's make that major in everything in Liberia, because this is the reason why Liberians don't love Liberia. And when I say that to few Liberians, some of them they hurt and they say, no, you're just talking because you want to talk. I believe because we lack of our culture and we don't know the value. Like you just said, in school I learned so much about Canada and America before I came there. But if you ask me deep level Liberia, I don't know. I start to learn recently
Yep.
about Liberia.
Yeah,
So
but
I think
Russell, let me
things
just
that
let me
make
just
Liberia.
Russell, let me just make a point that you emphasize on here. When we pick one language right now, we'll be doing it at the detriment of destroying the other languages, because then only one language will be willing to learn. At this point, let's teach all of them. The schools in Grand Bassa County, from ABC to 6th grade, Bassa should be taught. The schools in Lofa, all the 5 tribes in Lofa should be included, but every child should be required to learn at least one. When we've learned all of them and learned the attitude of embracing them, then I think we can start to say which one is more advanced, or we can develop to the point of maybe saying we can take one. But at this point, choosing one would just be to the detriment of the others. And every time we lose even one of it, we've lost something. So I say, let's get the attitude of just embracing them first within our education system, and then start to say, which one can we elevate to a certain level?
I think I think that is right. And I would just say today, since the internet was open, Facebook, we having conversation about Liberia. This conversation you put up today, trust me, is the beginning of Liberia. If we can listen to it, Liberia can come on and listen to what you have to say. It can be the growth of Liberia for tomorrow. And Liberia needs to start. I just want to say to the listener, we need to stop thinking about ourselves today now. We got to think about our generation.
Thank you.
We have to start thinking about how we can contribute to work Liberia instead of asking Liberia to contribute to work us, because Liberia is already contributes to every Liberian life. Liberia has, one of the things I would say, the soil is there for you to grow with. If that means the soil is already contribute to what you're living, your activity, what you want to do with life. But how many Liberians get to back to Liberia? I think we have to start to look at that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your conversation today, brother. I really, this is it really touched me. And I hope that you can continue this conversation for the next few months. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Russell. Do we have another caller there, Anthony?
Yes, Leo, we got 2 more. Aliu Kamara is on the line. Aliu.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Good morning. I don't know what time it is.
Do you speak your language?
Okay. I speak several.
All right.
Amazing. You my man, Aliu.
I speak my grandmother's language, which is Bone County.
Yeah.
Please. Okay, I speak my grandfather's side, which is the Mende. I speak that. And I speak my general language, which is Madringo. I speak that very well.
Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Thing. Yeah. But let me just say this. No, Leah, I'll be honest with you, this is an uphill campaign. I would say it's possible. If we were Guineans, I say it's possible. Or anywhere in Africa, Nigeria, I say it's possible. Liberia, it's possible. But just be preparing your grandchildren and your great grandchildren to continue this thing.
So let me answer
people.
Before you go ahead, Aliu, let me maybe answer your concern quickly. All right. Here's why I think it's not an uphill battle, because even up to now, dialect or language speaking people are still the majority in Liberia, even up to present day. I think the failure has been our inability, the lies that we haven't showed them how bad it is. The same way the progressives, when they show the Liberian people how bad the true Wing Party was, it led to a popular uprising, right? I'm not talking about leading to that kind of popular uprising, but even those of us who are so close to the native languages, we're running away from it. We're telling our grandma and grandpa that it's not important. The moment we start it starts with individual effort. So I don't think it's an uphill battle. I think it's actually an easier battle because majority of Liberians are still native language speaking people. But go ahead.
Okay, let me tell you why it's in here. They're not smoking.
I know, right?
Now the reason why you still have majority of the populace speaking their local vernacular is because they haven't been open to development.
Yep.
Liberian people, we can be in the village where our grandmother culture is working, custom is working, and peace reigns. When something happens to one home,
yep,
everybody involved. We'll get together, we'll brush one person's farm. All the men, all of those things, we'll do that. It's unique. We're working in uniformity. And then 2% among us leaves the village and goes to Monrovia, goes to school, comes back to that village, his way of interacting changed. The custom that he was used to before he went to Monrovia, he can no longer apply that custom. In fact, he began to condemn his fellow men and women in that village, telling them that they're living remote life. Once those places are open to development, your campaign becomes more, your campaign will get in deeper trouble. Now, let me just tell you one thing. There's a guy in Buchanan, one doctor something, not Buchanan, but Magibi, doctor something, I just forgot his name. There is a school that opened over there, a college, and he is the president of that college. That guy has tried to make BASA a primary course in that school. It's been about 6 years now since he's been doing that, and he's still fighting, and this is just an institution. I used to go to school in Sarala, Lower Bunker Day. Okay? The Pele people in that region, they had their own Pele Bible. They could read the Bible. Somebody who never went to what we call education today, formal school. Never went, but they could have read their Pele Bible. I was missionary, like Konola, like Salala, like, like Wela. All of those things together overshadowed the Pele churches, so the Pele churches started using the regular King James Version Bible. What I am telling you.
So let me ask you, Aliyu. Before I let you go, let me ask you quickly before I let you go. Can you then tell me how come with Bomb Mines, with Yekepa, with Lamco, all of them, how come in Yekepa, Guillaume Amano or Guillaume still spoke on? How come in Bomb Mines? But let me just tell you today, the opposite of the example you just gave. The Lutheran Church today has elevated the Pele language to a level that is impossible to quench. There is no Lutheran church you go to, the Loma and Pele Bible is not read. Even in Monrovia, in the Lutheran churches in Monrovia, every church has a native language choir and an English choir. Every church have all of the scriptures read in Pele and Loma and English. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Leo, I'm with you. You have to understand, I'm speaking from the point of frustration.
Oh, I know that.
Okay.
I know that. I hear you on that.
I am a pan-Africanist, okay?
Yeah.
I believe that nothing in Africa should change. In fact, I believe that we should design our own economic strategy and not follow the so-called capitalist economy. I am just that kind of African I'm passionate about it. I am just telling you, as somebody now at the age of 47 almost,
yep,
born, raised, go to school in Liberia, I'm telling you, I'm not disputing some of those things you're talking about. Those are just isolated things. We're talking about 43,000 square miles. Let me just give you an example. The Crown boys that live in Yekepa, the Gil boys that live in Yekepa, the Mano boys that live there, the way they behave, and the things that they tolerate is totally different from the people living in the hinterland or in the rural areas of Nimba County. Very different.
Yeah.
How can we have someone who went to school like Leo, like Anthony in there who doesn't speak Kru? How can we have people like you guys, regardless of what level of education you accrue, how can we make you guys to realize that you are just who you were before you gather this formal education? The reason for this formal education is just to expose you to the world at large, but it doesn't change who you are as a person.
Before the people kill me, I got so many callers waiting. Let me get you to quickly wrap up.
Okay, yeah. So what I was thinking, we compare the Ministry of Education to make every county to have their national language plus every 16 languages in Liberia as a curriculum and as a mandate that if you fail, then you pay for a year. Like
maybe you are not listening. Aliyu, let me stop you there. Aliyu, maybe you are not actually listening there. I said every county, for example, should have their own language. But you know what? I got your point, and I think that the viewers got the point, Aliyu. But no, thank you. I agree with you. It's not easy. But at the end of the day, they said that not because of bad dream, we will not sleep. We will keep working hard as much as we can.
You're right. I just told you about 5 minutes ago, so I didn't get that part. But you're right. But thank you so much.
Okay, Ali, thank you so much. Much appreciated for your contributions here. Do we have another caller on the line, Anthony?
Yeah, caller, go ahead. Your name, where you joining us from?
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel. For the next, this is my job. I won't call my last name.
Okay.
Yes, I recall it. The issue Leo is pushing is people having self-love. If you love yourself, you're gonna love your country. If you love your country, you're gonna love all the people around you. We are in America. There are people who are in America. When you ask them to go back to Liberia, so basically they say, "What am I gonna do there?" We gotta change the narrative. We, the so-called educated people, gotta change the narrative. People leave from here to go more, they don't go back to their villages. People go to the villages, they don't have to go there, but they condemn everything they did. How? Hello?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Wrap up. Let me let you wrap up quickly. You can wrap up your point that we can hear you in your life.
Until we can get self-love for our country, love ourselves, and love our brothers, nothing going to change.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
what
you.
I say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have another caller, Anthony? Anyone else?
No, that would do it, Leo.
Great. Can we do the comments? There were a lot of comments I know that I may have come after, just
Right.
to wrap up.
All right, let me see. Go back to those comments. Yeah, this one.
So Ghibli once say, "I'm sorry for the words used, but many US go on Facebook saying he able which cannot educate it, blah blah which cannot educate our children, sister and brother. That what makes me angry to use those words." Sorry. Oh yeah, Ghibli, we're just talking about using the word. That's all right. Thank you, Ghibli. That's understood. Joe Colley, what's the procedure in placing a call-in? Is my second time following this platform. Joe, you just have to dial the number and follow the instructions on the phone. So sorry that we miss you again today. Welle A. Wilson said the pellet dialect was elevated long ago. It was taught at the University of Liberia. Hope it is still being taught. I agree, Welle, but we shouldn't be teaching it at the university. At that point, it's late. We should be teaching it from kindergarten and at the university. Joe Colley said, I'm not really certain about it still being taught in UL, but it's still being taught at Cottonton. It's late. You're already talking about adults. Let's start from ABC to 6th grade first. Jimmy Eastman says, speaking dialect is rich with cultural benefits, and we should encourage our children to learn them. But how do we avoid the slippery slope of tribalism? Tribalism has a very healthier part of it. If we teach our children the values of our culture and never attempt to live in harmony. Kafumba Suare say, let's not forget the American Liberians' influence. Yes, they are 5% of the population. They have a lot of power. Yes, but thank God for 2021. Now we can do something different. Nelson Gatel say, before you even go to teaching languages in school, let it begin with our names. For instance, a man or woman name, Nelly Powell, would change your name to Nelly Powell, just to indicate that she's civilized in Liberia. I would disagree with that. Names got meaning. Some people are named after other people. Some people are named in different ways, not necessarily in their traditional language or whatever. So I would not say because of people's names, we should know that has nothing to actually do with it, especially given the history of Liberia. People's names are different for very different reasons. So no, I wouldn't go down to issue of names. You can take any name you want. You should be open to that. Tepos Dempster says, I don't understand your idea of local dialect should be taught in Liberia when you, Leo, have a Western name. My question to you is, how many Liberians you know have a native name? You see, the classic example of not being able to understand your native language. So you assume that Leo is a Western name. I'm sorry. Let me break it to you. Leo, that's not Western name. It's Pele. Go ask any Pele person and say, what they call Leo? Nanuanga, Kwagu Leo, or Nanuanga Kalu. Leo, ask any Pele person, I'll not tell you what it means. But because you assume, and ask the question, we'll understand you. But even if my name was a Western name, does that take away from me wanting to understand my own culture or whatever that is? But let's leave that other one for a different time. Joe Colley, regardless of Brother Leo, there are uncomfortable numbers of Liberians bearing native name. My entire family is an example. You know why that is so? It's because we continue to teach our people that our languages are not good. We might run away from it. So you don't blame people for being uncomfortable with native names, because all of us are promoting this idea. So let's stop promoting it. Lawrence Powell says, isn't it late to do that? The Democratic Republic of Congo under Mobutu instructed the public education system to teach all Congolese to speak one language. It's not late. If not for our own sake, for our children's sake. It's not for our children's sake, for our grandchildren's sake. So no, Lawrence, it's not late. If all Liberians would die and Liberia would have ended as a country today, I'll say yes, it's late. But as Liberia is going to continue on. So what we did not get right in the past, it's not late to try and get it right and correct it now. If not for our own sake, for our own children's sake. But ladies and gentlemen, oh, Dada Logan say, I'm 30 years in the UK and I still read my Manon Bible. My brother, God bless you. But ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we are coming close to the end of another session here. I really want to thank everybody. And again, like I'm saying, I'm not saying don't learn English. I'm not saying don't learn French. All I'm telling you is, and people, I mean, my brother Aliyu was describing that it is an uphill battle, right? No problem. But because it's an uphill battle, we might not do it. Bringing peace to Liberia when we had 7 warring factions, wasn't it an uphill battle? But we stuck to it because we wanted peace, right? Let's look at it that way. That same attitude. People picking themselves up after all of the war and everything to rebuild our life. Wasn't it an uphill battle? It was. So because it's an uphill battle, that's the more reason why we should even focus on the more. For some of you here, coming to America was an uphill battle. You did not stop. You committed to it until you saw it through, right? So uphill battles, in fact, Liberians, I would say uphill battles are the things we've learned how to do well. Ebola was an uphill battle. We figure it out. Some of you going to school and getting educated was an uphill battle. It was, in fact, impossible. You figure it out. So this is another uphill battle. Let's take it on. Let's figure it out, because or else we stand the risks of our languages going extinct. And if they go extinct, we stand the risks of us losing our entire history, losing ourselves, and becoming perpetual wanderers with full instability. We're having no idea who we are, where we come from, or where we're going. Ask yourself the question. All the English we can speak, the English people still discriminate against us and say we are minority. They still ask us where we really come from. All the book we learn with all the PhD, most of us are still fighting to understand why people keep discriminating against us, right? That is the reason why we need to develop ours. And I've given you a practical solution. Start with the oral curriculum. Teach Basa in all the elementary schools in Grand Bassa. By the time a child who went to school in Grand Bassa hits grade 6, Bassa should be on, can roll off their tongue like when you're rolling GB to swallow it. By the time a child who went to school in Bonkante hits grade 6, Pella should be rolling off the tongue like water. By the time a child who went to Nima County is in grade 6, who went to school in Nimba, should already be speaking Mano or Gio or Mandingo. By the time a child who lived in Lofa and went to school in Lofa should already be speaking Mandingo or Loma or Kisi or Bandi or any one of the tribes there. That is not rocket science. It doesn't even require money. We can start to do it now. We can literally start to do it next year. So those of you who didn't learn the language to teach your children, your children can have an opportunity to learn it in school. Some of us can tell our children and who born here, maybe for 2 years, before they finish elementary school, we can take them to Liberia to go do 2 years because we know there will be a benefit to them that they cannot get in the school system here, right? But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Like I said, Liberia is a nation in peril, an identity crisis. But it's not late. All is not lost. We can fix it. We do have the solution. And thank God we don't have to depend on the World Bank for this one. Thank God we don't have to depend on the IMF for this one. Thank God we don't have to depend on the United States for this one. It is within our own hands to fix this one. So let's take it. Let's use what God has given us. I will close by telling you in Peril. The people say, if black know that God, what that means that your color throwing here and the people can see before they embrace you. And you see the French foreign minister went to Liberia to promote the French culture and French language. When we start to promote and embrace our own, then the other people, our friends, will start to support us in it. They say, your own are your own. Embrace it. Love it. Take it. Appreciate it. Develop it. Tree that can sound ugly in people's ear like that. You live in Ghana for long, tree will start to sound sexy in your ear because I want there every day. The first time you hear it will sound funny in your ear, but when you live that long, it starts to sound sexy because that's what it's around you. Because the people who speak it love it, they embrace it. You cannot love a man or a woman without loving who they are. But Liberians, we don't know who we are. So people struggle to even love us because we ourselves are trying to be something that we're not. Have a good afternoon. My name is Leo Napolu Johnson here with the Liberian Dream. It has been another beautiful time. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to catching up again in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye, and have a good day.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers features and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This
We are Liberia.